We'll have an assessment, reassessment on the topic, and here we have a lot of panel members who will share their views and opinions and their expertise. I would like to first start with Solicitor Mr. M.D. Munir Zaman, famous lawyer in London, United Kingdom. Please.
I'm M.D. Munir Zaman. I'm working with SB Solicitor in London as a legal advisor. Today, our discussion topic is the roots of Islamic law. Dear viewers and audience, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahi majdiha wa mursaha inna rabbi la ghafurur rahim. Respected brothers and sisters, today's topic is the roots of Islamic law. I am not a scholar at all. Here it presents lots of scholars here. I am as a learner. I want to share my views on the topics. Let's see what is the Allah says in this Quran. Surah Ma'idah, verse number 3. I am telling actually only English, not Arabic. This day have I prepared for religion for you, completed my favor upon you, and have chosen for you Islam as your religion. Allah chosen Islam only for our religion and our constitutions. So, if I find out the roots of Islamic law, we have to go to this Quran. In Holy Quran, Surah Ma'idah, verse number 49 says, "And desires, and between them, by what Allah has revealed, and follow not their vain desires." If we analyze the verse, we see we must judge nothing but from Quran. In the same surah, Surah Ma'idah, verse 43 says, "But why do they come to you for decision when they have their own law before them? Therein is the command of Allah, yet even after that they would turn away, for they are not people of faith." Next verse, Surah Ma'idah 44 says, the first part of this verse, "It was we who revealed the law, therein was guidance and light." Who is revealed the law? Law revealed by Allah. Answer is Allah. Answer is the Quran. In the end of the verse, says, if you do not follow the law of Quran, you are the kafir. And next verse say you are the jalim, and next verse 46 say you are the fasik. So we have to follow the Quranic verse for the law, for the source of the law, for the roots of the law. If we analyze the above verse, we must believe in Quran to find out the roots of the law. Let's think the biggest law in our society. I think the biggest sin in this world is anyone condemn the Allah and the messengers. What does the Quran say about this sin? Same Surah Ma'idah, verse number 33 says, "The punishment of those whose ways were against Allah and His abstain, and strive with might and mind the mischief through the land is execution or crucifixion or the cut of hands and feet from opposite sides, or exile from this land." According to this Holy Quran, the implementation of law is equal for all human beings. We could not different with this nation, with the tribe or religious. This law is universal. Let's see Surah Baqarah, verse 178 and 179. "O you who believe, the law of equality is practiced to you in case of murder, the free for the free, the slave for the slave, the woman for the woman, but any remission is made by the brother of the slave, then grant my responsible demand and compensate him with handsome gratitude. This is a concession and a mercy from your Lord. And next verse says, in the law of equality there is life to you, O you men of understanding, that you may restrain yourselves. Let's see what is the Quran is saying for all type of shamefulness, injustice and rebellion and all type of evil practice, like pornography, like oppression, disappearance, hijacking, etc. Let's say Surah An-Nahl verse 96. Allah commends justice, the doing of good and liberty, to kill and kill, and He forbidden all shameful deeds and injustice and rebellion. He instructs you that you may receive admonition. And Surah Al-Ankabut verse number 29 says, do you indeed approach men and cut off the highway and practice wickedness in your counsel? But these people gave no answer but this. They said, bring us the wrath of Allah if you tell the truth. This verse indicating the gay, the lesbian, or make a problem of public place, obstacle the communication in the name of fair gathering or meeting with wickedness. I want to touch the most important subject to the law of theft. Most of the people mistaking this meaning of the theft. They think that theft is only the stealing. Is it true? I think no, because the theft is wider than the stealing. Like corruption, undue power implementation, bribing, money trafficking, also the same theft. According to this Quranic verse, Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse number 33 says, as to the thief, male or female, cut off his or her hand, a punishment by way of example for Allah. For this crime, and Allah is excelled in power. Most of the people think the law of theft is a barbaric law. For them, I give an example how we would implement the law in the society. In the 18th century, there is a man in this India, his name was Muhammad Muhsin, he was the Hadi Muhammad Muhsin, who is the biggest donor in that time in the India subcontinent. Once a night, a thief came to his house to steal some flour. But unfortunately, Mr. Hadi Muhammad Muhsin caught him by hand and asked him why he is doing this type of thing that can be cut off his hand. The thief told to Hadi Muhammad Muhsin, I am hungry, and hungry is the more painful than my hand. You can cut off my hand, but I have to eat something. The Hadi Muhammad Muhsin get him away out with some more flour and some coin and advised him to give more financial help until the thief getting a job to survive. So, if I analyze this verse, we say all of this Islamic law, when we have to implement, we have to think behind the corruption or behind the scene. I like to end my talk now. I'm not going more because lots of scholars here, they want to tell about this law. I thank again all of you, especially Mufassir Islam, and others. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Solicitor MD Mr. Monir Zaman. I would now like to invite Mr. M.A. Bashir. He's a law student and consultant in the United Kingdom. Please welcome Mr. M.A. Bashir to have a few words with us.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, to my all viewers, friends, good wisher. My name is Ibrahim and I'm a student consultant World Education Center and I'm a law student. So today is very important topic, roots of Islamic law. Actually there is a lot of scholars, Berisha Mahmoud Bhai, Amin Islam Bhai, Redwan Bhai, John Bhai, and Mufassir Islam Bhai, and another two guests. They discuss details about the matter. So I just introduce myself. Thank you very much.
Now I'd like to invite Mr. Aminur Rashid. He's a freelance journalist, researcher, expert in Arabic language especially. Thank you, Mr. Aminur Rashid. Please have a few words with us.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi. Viewers, I've been advised to give a talk on the subject of the roots of Islamic law with analysis. First of all, I think we need to define what law means. And then the question comes in, does Islam have a law? Because we are searching the roots of the Islamic law. So does Islam have a law? Then we will search the roots of the Islamic law. Otherwise, no point in searching for something which doesn't exist. So, what the law means, I'm not in legal academia. What I understand by law is a code developed by sovereign authority to ensure the orderliness of society. So, obviously, the law is really pertinent to the philosophy, the ideology of Islam. Because what Islam means is another big question. Big question what Islam means. Then the question is what law means, and then what Islamic law is, and then what is the root of Islam. There are so many questions around the topic, very big topic. And this topic is now shaking in today's world actually. Although we are sitting in a very small, tiny room in London. The question is now shaking the whole world. Some people are fighting, struggling, demonstrating to establish Khilafah. And some people are objecting to it. Some people are saying Islam is confined into this religious matters. Some people are saying Islam is a complete code of life. So Islam is not well defined by the majority of the people. My view is Islam is from my perspective, Islam is a complete way of life. So Islam does provide a legal system. So Islam does have a legal system, definitely. From my perspective. And then question comes, then what would be the root of the Islamic law? What do you mean by the root of even general laws? This is a big academic discussion. As I said in my introduction, law is something, to my understanding, is what the sovereign made some provisions about the social order. Islamic law is a part of the ideology and theory and doctrine of Islam. So, what does Quran say about the law of Islam? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, أَفَحُكْمَ الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ يَبْغُونَ وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ مِنَ اللَّهِ حُكْمًا لِقَوْمٍ يُوقِنُونَ. أَفَحُكْمَ الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ يَبْغُونَ is a metaphorical question laid out in the Quran. Allah is saying, are they pursuing a law or a legal system from the system of Jahiliyyah? وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ مِنَ اللَّهِ حُكْمًا لِقَوْمٍ يُوقِنُونَ. There is nothing, there is no better law than what Allah gave you. And it is for those who adhere to the authority and sovereignty of Allah. So, that clearly indicates that Islam does have a legal system. And Allah is saying this is the best system of the mankind. So what are the rules of Islamic law then? In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in one ayat, referring to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Ma ataakumur rasulu fakhudhuhu, wa ma nahakum anhu fantahu." Ma ataakumur rasulu fakhudhuhu. Whatever Rasul, the Prophet, brings to you, accept it, abide by this. وَمَا نَهَاكُمْ عَنْهُ فَانْتَهُ. And whatever he forbids you to, or forbids you from doing action, whatever action he forbids you from, you don't do this. One, he's saying something he brings to you, for you to do, making something mandatory. This is like an order. So you abide by this rule. And when he order you to abstain from something, you abstain from this. So there is a prohibition that you don't do this, and then you're also providing what you need to do, which is your for you to do as compulsory or mandatory. You see, clearly gives an outline of law. So this is a legal system. And what's the root of the Islamic law then? In one ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَإِذَا تَنَازَعْتُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ فَرُدُّوهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. Whenever you have any dispute over anything, فَإِذَا تَنَازَعْتُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ فَرُدُّوهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. Take the matter to Allah and His prophets. So, when you say take it to the matter of Allah, is it practical to take any matter to Allah? It's not practical. So when he said Rasul, so Allah added His name to give a way to the authenticity and credibility of the Prophet Muhammad. That's why he said, "Ma'atakum Rasul, fa'khudhuhu wa ma nahakum." Sorry, I misquoted. the verse. فَإِذَا تَنَازَعْتُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ فَرُدُّوهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَالرَّسُولِ. Bring this disputed matter to Allah and His Prophet. When there is a dispute, you take a solution from the solution of Prophet Muhammad. When there is a dispute, so this is providing a system of adjudication, a system of judiciary. And then when Prophet are not there, he left the world. Then what do you do for any disputed matter? So there is another principle laid out in the Quran. Allah said in the Quran in another verse, "As'alu ahla dhikra in kuntum la ta'lamun." Fas'alu ahla dhikra. That means take the matter to the people of wisdom amongst you. In kuntum la ta'lamun. When you don't know a resolution on a disputed matter. I don't know if my time is over. So, the topic is very important. First, we need to establish that Islam has a legal system, and then Islam is the best system, and Allah said, the best system, there is nothing better than the rule of Allah. That He provide a mechanism that when you have a dispute, take the matter to Allah and the Prophet. When Prophet is not there, then taking the disputed matter to the people of wisdom, like today's judiciary. And Allah, because today's judiciary is taking the place of the people of wisdom. It's synonymous. Allah, the people of wisdom is synonymous to the judiciary. I don't know if there is any other question around this. I can
You'll be asking questions in the second half of the program.
Inshallah. So I'll give you, I think, a brief outline of the Islamic legal system and the provision of the how you derive the rules of Islam. When in Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he takes the matter to him. When he's alive, take it to the people of wisdom, the judiciary, those who are sitting in the position of a judge. So that is my brief outline on the rules of Islamic law.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Amir Rashid. Now I would like to invite Mr. Muhammad Al-Mamun. He is a barrister and solicitor of the Court of England and Wales, and he is also an author, a theological researcher. Thank you very much, Mr. Muhammad Al-Mamun, to please have a few words with us.
Assalamu alaikum, viewers. Today we are few speakers and thinkers here to talk about one of the more important issues that the Muslim people always are concerned with. Firstly, the topic is Islamic law. So I'd like to shed some view, some light on the word itself, the word Islamic. So if we see that the word Islamic is an adjective. So what is the noun then? The noun is Islam. So from Islam, the adjective comes from Islamic. What is Islamic? That is from Islam. Well, so that means it has to come from the Quran. So in the Quran, I haven't found any word that calls Islami or Islamiyya an adjective. So the crucial fact is that the main word the Muslim people use whole life every time since last 1,300 words is not in the Quran. So this is what my starting point. Viewers, I'm a Muslim. I'm submitted to God. I don't belong to any sect. I just belong to in God's submission. Uh, I am a researcher and believer in the Quran's words, God's words, and the God's guidance. So something I might say that might conflict your views or your beliefs that you have been feeding with since last or since your birth or our forefathers. So what is Islam? My previous speaker also tried to analyze the word. Every time, whenever we say Islam, we don't understand its meaning. The whole Quran is translated in various languages, in English, in Bengali, and any other language. But no one tries to think about what does Islam, how it is to translate. So in that case, I just look at the Quran. Now, God said in 22, 78, chapter Surah 22, 78. And by the way, when I say any Arabic, any reference from the Quran, I will give you clear verse and ayat number so that you can verify. This is another thing that we need to think about. It. Whenever we hear the Arabic words, we think it's all a divine, and we don't ask question because there are many ways we can see the verses are taken from here and there as a cherry picking to get the words out of context. So in chapter 22, Surah 22, 78, let me read through to define what is Islam. Then we see what is Islamic. Is there anything Islamic? Whether the word is a proper noun, Islam is a proper noun, but the way we get it's a capital I seems it's a proper noun, which the Quran does not prove. Right. Firstly, Allah said that Ibrahim was the Muslim, introduced us. What is Muslim means? Muslimin. وَجَاهِدُوا فِي اللَّهِ حَقَّ جِهَادِهِ وَأَجْتَنَابُكُمْ وَلَا جَعَلَ عَلَيْكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ فِي حَرَجٍ مِلَّةَ إِبْرَاهِيمَ هو سماكم المسلمين من قبل وفي هذا يكون الرسول شهيدا عليكم وتكونوا شهداء على الناس. And I just said the meaning. And strive for Allah with the striving due to Him. He has chosen you and has not placed upon you in the deen any difficulty. The millata, the characteristics of your father Ibrahim, he named you Muslimin. So the word comes from there, Muslimin. Now let's see how Ibrahim became Muslim. In Quran, Al-Baqarah, 131. Let's see 131 how Ibrahim became Muslim. So then we'll define what does Islam mean. In Quran, chapter 2, Al-Baqarah, 131, God was talking to Ibrahim. He said, "If all lahu rabbuhu aslim," when his Lord said, "Surrender," aslim, the salama, where Islam comes from, aslim. He said, "Ola aslamtu li rabbil alamin." He said, "Yes, I submitted to the Lord of the all realms." As soon as he submitted, then we already heard that God said He is amongst the Muslimin. So now, what is Islam comes from? Because time is very short, so I just refer to you to chapter 3, Surah 3, verse 19, where it is said, "Inna dina inda Allahi al-Islam," from where all things come from. The Islam we see. Here we say, "Inna dina," surely the deen with God is the Islam. Now, what does Islam mean then? No one translates al-Islam. No one translates ad-din. We are told that ad-din means the religion. If ad-din means the religion, then what is Maliki Yawm ad-din? The Surah Fatiha, we see, read it. Maliki Yawm ad-din. Same ad-din is there. There we say it's a judgment day. Here we say it's a religion. So it's a clear contradiction. So this is the contradiction we aim to study and day by day we present to you. But at the time, just refer to it. In the Surah Fatiha, it says Maliki Yawm ad-din, and in chapter 3, 19, it says Inna ad-dina inda Allahi al-Islam. So I translate it this way because there is a contradiction. If I say there in the Fatiha, the judgment day, if I say judgment day, the Malik of the judgment day, if I say there, how can I say it's a religion here? Ad-din, the same word, same spelling, everything same. So the way I translate, surely the system with God is the submission. So here we come from, we see the submission. So Islam is the submission. If Islam is the submission, how come it becomes a religion? God has never said that it's a religion. Every religion has rules, has ritual, and masala. Then in comprise, they say this is the Sharia law. And here we are. This is the Sharia law. We are trying to make analysis where it's come from. We know that there was a prophet whose name was Muhammad. He was born in 570 in a Quraysh progeny, and during 23 years he brought the whole revelation that the Musaf, we get it now. This is what we know. We don't know that the Quran doesn't confirm that. In the Quran, God never said, Ya Muhammad, this Quran has given to you. Go and preach. Nothing is there. What we get 4 times Muhammad, an adjective as an adjective is presented. And all 4 times, whenever Muhammad was mentioned, it was in past tense. Ma kana Muhammad, Muhammad was. Aba ahadin min rijalikum. Muhammad was not none of you men's father. So Muhammad was not. Was Muhammad there at the time when the verse revealed? Let's take another example. Let's take chapter 3, 144. It says, وَمَا مُحَمَّدٌ إِلَّا رَسُولٌ وَمَا مُحَمَّدٌ إِلَّا رَسُولٌ. Muhammad was nothing but God's messenger. We put it in cross-reference. 575, Surah Ma'idah 75, we see the same wordings, same sentence, same context is used. Ma Masih ibn Maryam illa rasul madkhalat min qablihi rusul. So we see when this verse revealed, Jesus died at least 500 or 700 years ago. At least 500 years ago. But the same wording is used in chapter 3, 144. Ma wa ma Muhammadun illa rasul adkhalat min qablihi rusul. If Jesus was not there when the verse was revealed, how come Muhammad was here at the time it was revealed? So these are the inconsistencies today we are laying out in short. Let's go to chapter 47 2. In chapter 47 2, again, the word Muhammad was used. It says, وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَآمَنُوا بِمَا نُزِّلَ عَلَى مُحَمَّدٍ وَهُوَ الْحَقُّ مِنْ رَبِّهِمْ كَفَّرَ عَنْهُمْ سَيِّئَاتِهِمْ وَأَصْلَحَ بَالَهُمْ. It says, وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, those who believed is a past tense. وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, and they did عَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, good deed. وَآمَنُوا, and believed, again past tense. Bima nuzzila, again past tense, what revealed ala Muhammad, what revealed on Muhammad, to Muhammad, wa huwa al-haqq, was the haqq, was the truth. So what revealed to Muhammad was the truth. Was Muhammad there when the verse revealed? Everything is past tense. Let's go to chapter 48. 48:29. The last one, in 4 occasions, I've cited 3 occasions, now the last one. Muhammad Rasulullah, Walladina amanu ashadda. Muhammad Rasulullah, Muhammad, now the way we know that, this is Muhammad is the Rasul. There is no to be word here. Muhammad Rasulullah, so it can be said Muhammad is Allah's God's messenger, or Muhammad was God's messenger. Last 3 verses we found that Muhammad was in past tense. Ma'ahu ashiddahu. Ma'ahu, those who are with him. It can be said those are with him. But when you read the whole verse, we'll see those who are past. Anal kuffar, they are very firm against the rejectors, against the bad thing, and the injustice. Ruhama bainahum tarahum ruk'an sujjadan. So Ruhama, they are very kind towards the believers. So here again you can see that is at the end of the chapter Fatah. It says Muhammad was the Rasul, because remember in Surah 3, 144 and 33, Surah Ahzab 44, Ma kana Muhammad. Muhammad was. Kana is was. Kana is cannot be is. So these are the situation we are here. We are told that a prophet, he was the last prophet. He brought this Quran, whole Quran, but the Quran doesn't confirm it. So why do you get it? Let's go back to the root of the history. Obviously, my senior speaker, Mr. Mufassir Islam, will put more shade on the history. So I just lay out some light on it. We know the whole narratives from one book, that is the Sirat an-Nabiyyin, which was written as claimed, although we don't have any manuscript from him, even Hisham, after 250 years of the Muhammad's death in 632. When Ibn Hisham wrote this, he claimed that he did not write, he was merely editing a book prior to it, written by Ibn Hisham, who was born after 85 years of the Rasul's Muhammad's death. But again, we were told that even Hisham's book, Sirat al-Rasulullah, was destroyed. You cannot have any single pages or from Ibn Hisham. But who claimed that? Even Hisham claimed that he merely edited from his predecessor. So where's the other one? Why did you destroy it? You keep it. If you want to edit it, we can see what inconsistency is there. Then he claimed that there was so much shameful materials in Ibn Hisham's Sirat al-Rasulullah. That's the reason he had no other way but to cut them off and then later destroy. We don't know who destroyed, but it is destroyed. So we don't have anything in the 300 years of the Muhammad's death or 250 years of the claimed book Sirat an-Nabiyyin. Once again, you can never have any single page of original manuscript of Ibn Hisham. So this is the situation we can have some printed copy after 10th century. It's written with British Library or anywhere you can find Sirat al-Nabiyyin, and from where millions of literature and the scholarship has grown up, has evolved. And this is what we say Islamic and Islamic law. Now, if you go to the Quran, God doesn't say anything about Islamic law. God says, Inil hukmu illa lillah. the judgment, the legislation, only for God, nobody else. He doesn't share it with anyone. He says in chapter 18, 26, he said, let me read it. وَلَا يُشْرِكُ بِحُكْمِ أَحَدًا. He said, God said, he does not share with anyone. I give emphasis with anyone. Hukmi, when he with his hukum, his judgment, his legislation. So we can see if we associate or give shuraka with God's hukum, with the man's hukum, that means it's a shirk. According to this verse, God says he doesn't leave any room for anybody else to yushrik with his hukum. Because he says, inil hukmu illa lillah. So this is the position. So if anything in the name of Islam, any law, any hukum, any rules, any masail, if you get it, you must consult with the Quran. If you go outside the Quran, that means you make yushrik with this. You make shuraka. So this is a clear shirk. Obviously, the way we are told that shirk means those who worship the idols, that's a shirk. Quran doesn't say that. Quran says anyone make shuraka with Allah's hukum, it's a shirk. Let's see now. So this is the rule to find is completely ambiguous, totally, in the last 300 years. And even thereafter, firstly, after the even Hisham's Sirat al-Nabiyin, after 250 years or 300 years, then we have huge literature from 6 Persian men. You know that Kutub al-Sitta, those, all of them were from Persia. Mr. Bukhari, Mr. Muslim, Ibn Nasai, Abu Dawud, all are from same region at the same time in 8th century. Prophet died, Rasul died in 7th century. Note that. They claim, now Mr. Bukhari claimed, some people came to me, one people came to me, and he said, yes, he said, so-and-so said, so-and-so said, so-and-so said, and back to 300 years of Prophet Muhammad, Abu Huraira was there. And Abu Huraira said something. Well, one day Prophet was there, I was just seeing that, he said, okay, let's do something like that. Then Prophet, Mr. Bukhari said, yes, I got it. This is hukum. A hukum was made, or something was made 300 years ago to a person. Now in 21st century, we get it. This is Islamic law. This is what all about that. Now, what is the current setting of this? To establish these Islamic Sharia, the current setting is in the 4 layers. Firstly, we are told the character, the persona of Muhammad is infallible. That means he could not do a single sin. While Quran doesn't agree with that. Quran says that at so many times the Rasul and the Nabi in the Quran, they made several mistakes. If I may so say, refer to you the verses where we can see chapter 8, 67 to 68, chapter 9, 43, Surah 9, 113 to 114, Surah 33, 57, Surah 61, 1, Surah 80, 1 to 11. Everywhere God admonished the Rasul and the Prophet for their errors. Because in the Quran, the Rasul said, I am simply a human being. He says in chapter 18, 118, he said, say, I am only a human being, a human like you, to whom revelation was made that your ilaha is one God. So this is what he says. Even he said that I do not have God's treasury. I do not know my future. Had I known my future, I would have changed it. Now, what in Islamic law, Islamic seerah, Islamic tradition, and the huge literature, faith, and you name it, there's millions what we don't know about it. But every day it's evolving and evolving. Muhammad is infallible. he cannot do any sin. So this is the mindset start with of the being a Muslim, being abide by in Islamic law. Then the next one, the biggest fallacy of ever, it says obedience to Muhammad. And for that, they pick and cherry pick some verses from there. وَأَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَأَطِيعُوا الرَّسُولَ. So let's put some shade on it. When we say وَأَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ, that means it's a direct command. To who? To the people in a second person pronoun. We are here in a second person pronoun. We are here. People are not there. We are not talking to other people. When you talk, you do it. So who are you? That means it's identified. The audience is identified. In everywhere, wherever you see, وَأَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَأَطِيعُوا الرَّسُولَ, it's a context-based. Contextually, it was said, the revelation is coming through. They were in a mission. If they don't follow the prophet, they cannot follow God's verses, God's messages. Therefore, it was said to them, for those people, وَأَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَأَطِيعُوا الرَّسُولَ. Now, so let's come to us. If I am to I am to abide by. A person died 1400 years ago. He's in the grave. I don't know him, and he doesn't know me. I don't know when he gave me order or command to follow him, to abide by him, his command, so that I follow Allah's command. I don't know. What I have after 1400 years ago, a book is written, and it's called Quran. Although I say it's Musaf, here there are so many things that Rasul was told to say to the people. So I can see Rasul is here, the Prophet or Rasul is here in the Quran, and the Rasul is at large, everywhere. In the mosque, in the Islamic domain, in everywhere, in the Siyah Sitta Kutub al-Sitta book. And we are told, if we have to ati to God, ati to Muhammad or the Rasul, we have to abide by the Bukhari, Muslim, and all other Persian men's qawl, Persian men's writings, Persian men's narrations. So does it mean watiullah, wati Rasul? In order to you abide by the Rasul, you have to abide by the books, man-made books after those was written after 300 years? That's the question. I leave it to you because time is short. I'm just concluding my talk. And next, the way we are fed up, we have been feeding the Islamic law, rules, masail. To establish that, number 3 setting is to create interpretation of the Quran to support Muhammad's centrality. In the Quran, God said, La nufarriqu baina ahadim min rusuli. Do not make distinction, division between God's messengers. But we say, he is the best human being. Had he not been created, nothing was created. And he was no light. And without him, nobody can go to Jannah. No one could go to heaven. That's the standard narrative we are grown up with. But in the Quran, God says different. In the Quran, Messenger himself said, I don't know my future. Had I known, I would have done so many things. I only abide by what is revealed to me. That is what the messenger in the Quran and the messenger and the prophet in the Islamic narratives. And that is what we sometimes say, this is Islamic. Because the word Islamic has not come from the Quran. Because Islam is not a proper noun. Because there is no such religion called Islam from God. Everything was created after the Rasul's death, after 300 years in Abbasid period. My learned Muslim Islam, he would focus on the history. You will get some of it. And the next setting is number 4. Then to elevate Muhammad is a godly status. Because we are told, if we don't get shafaya from Muhammad, we cannot go to heaven. And for that, what do? We every day, 5 times, in the prayer, we say, At-tahiyatu lillahi wa salawatu at-tayyibat. All tahiyat, everything for God. In short, I'm just saying that. And then we invoke, we call. If a person died 1400 years ago, he is in grave. We say, Assalamu alayka, ya ayyuhan nabi, hey nabi, hey prophet, take my salam. Because we are told we need to elevate Muhammad close to God. Not as like a God, but close to God. This is what the Islamic rules and Islamic law comes from. This is the root I'm saying now. And then it's not stop there. Then the next setting is elevating some people's status purely from the Hadiths. Who are they? The Sahaba, the companions of the Prophet. They are also infallible because 10 of them already got good news. They are in heaven. In the Quran, you have nothing at all. Everything we hear from Kutub al-Sitta, Siha Sitta is said, where you can say somebody say so and so said, so and so said, so and so said. If you go to any court of law in this day and age, if you say to the judge that this is the evidence, what is the evidence? He said, will you get an remedy? We are dealing with our salvation, our whole life, based on some Persian some books where they say, so and so said, so and so said, so and so said, so and so said, so and so said. This is what Islamic law comes from, Islam Sharia. This is what the root is. In future we will elaborate. We will explain more, bit by bit. But today it's just introduction. Then the next item is ulama. Suddenly, lots of people, they call themselves ulama. And even people do not bother. Muslim people around the world, what does ulama mean? If we say these people are ulama, what? You have to study from Azhar, Medina, and their subservient institutions. Then you are ulama, you are alim. So what about that? If we just split that, the alim or ulama, we can say wise, knowledgeable. So if they are knowledgeable, then we are all ignorant. Vice versa. It's a two-way round. Somebody is ignorant, somebody is knowledgeable. So only these people who they claim are the agent of Islam, they claim that they got agency from God. Without them, you cannot have heaven. You cannot go to the Jannah. So this is the narrative. And they say the law, and they execute the law of Islam, of Sharia. And they are the fathers or the teachers of Islamic law, and this is the root of Islamic Sharia. So, if we see where the ulama comes from, we see in the Quran, the ulama, God said, those who think about God's creation deeply and then submit to Him in fear, those are ulama. So, again and again, God says, this is for ulul albab, ulul albab, ulul albab. Those who use reason. At least 70 times God said, Afala ta'qilun? Will you not use reason? Who are they? Who are the ulul albab? Who are these ulama comes from in the domain of God's inshuraka, in replacing God's judgment, God's hukum, God's law, God's sharia? Are they from God? This is viewer, this is time you judge yourself, examine the book, you see what you are told, what you are fed with, whether this is in the Quran or not, whether this was told by God or it was told by so and so, so and so, and so and so, so and so. So with two versions of law, one is God-given hukum, the principles of life, the simple being, the system of God, inna dina, inda Allahi, and Islam. The system of God is with Allah is the submission, only to submit. God said in chapter 98, 5, وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. They were told not to obey anyone. وَمَا أُمِرُوا. Do not obey. إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ. When you serve God, when you do ibadat for God, do not obey anyone. إِلَّا مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. শুধুমাত্র only accept being mukhlis lahuddin, being honest, sincere to God's system. This is what God said in the Quran. This is what God's hukum. A simple life, a simple deen, a sirat al-mustaqim, a straight, easy way. There is no haraj. In 22:78, chapter 22:78, God said, in the deen, He did not make any haraj, any difficulty. Now, viewer, think about it. Is there any other religion is more difficult than the current setting of Islam, Islamic law we are having? I just leave it to you for your own judgment, for your own study, for your own research. Because at the end, we all are responsible for our own deed. In the end, when we are after we go before God, God will ask us individually one to one. In chapter 17:36, verse 36, God says, do not follow anything if you do not have any knowledge. If you do that, your hearing, your eyes, your intellect will be questioned. Dear viewers, we have so many things to say, so many things to explain, but today we have a limitation of time, and this is introduction today. This is what we are here. We want to present in future more details on evidence. The one thing we can say that we would not say anything what we cannot provide evidence. And lastly, I've got one point remaining. Every time, wherever you see one verse is abhorrently cuts and from the context, is chapter 59:17, Surah Hashr 7, Psalm 7. Ma atakumur rusul, they cut the words from the sentence. Look at the crime we Muslim commit. Let me read the verse so that after that I finish. Chapter 59. I read chapter 59, 6 and 7, then you judge what the narrative you have. That the way they cut God's word to just express, to just serve their purpose. 59:6. And whenever Allah has turned over His messenger for them, who are them? Why are we there that time? We are not there. You have spared neither horse nor camel for them, but Allah gives authority to His messenger over whoever He wills, and Allah is all powerful over everything. Now let's go to the last chapter 7. Then you see the trick the Islamic narrative plays with Allah's words. Chapter 59:7. And you will see how it is cut. And this is the tradition of Islam. Ma aqamullahu ala rasuli min ahli al-qura falillahi walil rasuli walil qurwa wal yatama wal masakin wa ibn sabil kay la yakunu dulahu bainal abniya minkum. Then the last bit, I think my previous speaker also mentioned that وَمَا أَتَاكُمُ الرَّسُولُ فَخُذُوهُ وَمَا نَهَاكُمْ عَنْهُ فَانْتَهُوا وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ شَدِيدُ الْعِقَابِ. Viewer, it was a contextual. There was a war, battle. They've got some booty that was distributed by the messenger. And there were some people, they were so unhappy. Then God revealed, whatever God gives, take it. Let's see, read the whole verse. And what Allah restored to His messenger from the people of the towns, it is for God, and for the messenger, and for his near relatives, and orphans, yatim, and the needy, miskin, and the traveler, so that there will not be a perpetual distribution among the rich from among you. Then the Islamic ulamas, you see the way they cut the verse short. And whatever the messenger has given you, take it. What is forbidden you, refrain from. And fear Allah, and taqwa, and aware of Allah. Indeed, Allah is severe in His penalty. Dear viewers, be aware, your salvation is in your hand. God said in the Quran, do not listen to anyone. read the Quran, go for it, think about your own destination. And we are here just the truth we get, we just present to you time after time. We have no purpose. We have nothing to have, nothing to attain from this presenting the truth. This is what God gives duty to everyone. I invite you all to do the same. Thank you so much for. I have concluded my.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mohammed Al Mamoun. It was a pretty long speech, and you have explained very clearly enough, mentioning some various quotations from the Holy Quran. Thank you very much. Now, I would sincerely request Mr. Mufassil Islam to have a few words with us. Mr. Mufassil Islam is a human rights advocate, an activist, an eminent theologian, and famous freelance journalist, and he was the former chairman of the For Britain political party of the Northern Ireland. Please welcome Mr. Mufassil Islam.
Thank you very much, everyone. I'm delighted to see all of you here because this is our first trial seminar, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to continue this free discussion in the near future. I expect in the future to bring up more challenging issues so that we can have candid discussions, because if we can't discuss, then who can? We are lawyers, and we are used to having discussions and debates and arguments in courts. Mamun enlightened us about aspects of Quran, and he touched up on Hadith and all, so that he emphasized, as I understood thus far, that Quran should be the pivotal or the sole source of Islam, or the religion that we know, or he doesn't want to denote it as religion. Then Amir Rashid Bhai emphasized on other issues, and Murray Jamal Bhai also emphasized on divinity of the Quran. But as usual, I'm not going to look at it simply from faith perspectives, because as researchers, we have to take a neutral standpoint. When it comes to research, we have to be absolutely neutral. We can have personal faith, it's not a problem. We can view things from faith, and we can view it from outside the domain of faith. If you are a Muslim, and if you say that's my faith, that's my belief, I believe Quran, I believe Sunnah and Hadith and all, I don't want to question it, that's it. And I'm done for it when it comes to debating, looking for sources. I don't want to know. All I want to know what was handed down to me. It was either handed down to me by my parents, or it was handed down to me by my society, by my culture, whatever. Then I have no issue with it. But when it comes to research, as somebody who believes in reason, logic, somebody who believes in evidence, I will question every aspect of Islamic laws. I don't need to talk much about Islamic law, as my friend here, Amin Rashid Bhai, has already discussed on this. But to make the short story short, and to succinct the issue, Amin Rashid Bhai probably touched upon it, which is, what is the basics of this Islamic law? Because Islamic law doesn't seem to be the same around the world. Every country claims to be following Islamic law. Even Pakistan has different Islamic law than Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia has different Islamic law than Iran. And we have a different Islamic law basing on what we have, our family laws in Bangladesh, which was vastly amended and taken away from the prevalent understanding of Islamic law by Muslim Family Law Ordinance and Dissolution of Marriages Act during Ayub Khan's regime, when Ayub Khan visited John F. Kennedy. So 1961, he was slapped with this understanding that you should amend your understanding of Islamic Muslim family law. You have to come at par with us. But nevertheless, Islamic law, if you say the Sharia, and Sharia, as you already know, Sharia is something which is, you are going down from a place to to the water. But I have seen as a student of comparative religion that the earliest Christians were not known as Christians until St. Paul came up with this idea of Christianity, or who you are as a Christian. Rather, people of the earliest Christianity, they were known as people of the way, which is almost like the Sharia as we know today, the people of the Sharia. But let's come to the challenging part. It's all good. You know, we understand that Islamic law, Sharia, is probably something which is feared by the Western people to some extent. And on the other hand, if we see the history, it seems that Western laws were greatly benefited from some aspects of Sharia. Now, as somebody who tries to dig, I'm a digger, I dig. So, as someone who dug and dug and dug, I found out that the most revered of the tafsir, see, I'm going back, the back foot here. Tafsir, Ibn Kathir was a man of the 14th century. I can't find anything before the 14th century that I can really say, oh, what an accolade of understanding, what a great work, or a basis of Islamic tafsir. And I would say he's one of the most revered. If we go around the time, then we are confused. We see a period of Muslims fighting Muslims and claiming to be others not being perfectly Islamic. And if we go to the time of Ibn Taymiyyah, then we have problem. And we are still suffering from that understanding even today, because I have seen that Maududi, who is one of the, Abdullah Maududi, is one of the most influential Islamic scholars of today. And it seems that he was influenced by Taymiyyah, and then also others like, Ahmed ibn Hanbal had quite a bit of influence on Taymiyyah and all. So if we see their understanding of Islam, which is playing a key role in some of the groups who are trying to establish Sharia, Islamic law, Islamic state, then I had to dig deeper. Where is it coming from? They're saying not, for example, Maududi is not salat or prayer are the main things, but again, Islam is something which encompasses almost everything, your personal life to your public life. So these are all intertwined. So I dug and dug and dug, and ended up with Muawiyah, who in fact formed the first Jama'ah, which is in fact dividing the Muslim community as we are a bit perfect, more perfect than others. And I dug and dug and dug, and ended up having Battle of the Jamal and other battles. And so the Battle of Jamal, or Camel, and the battle between Muawiyah and Ali, all made me think, was Islam really meant to be a law of the state? Because the Quran doesn't say that. So I kept on digging again. I became a greater digger. And I found out that Quran, in fact, told Muhammad, if the name is not there, but anyway, in Surah 88, verse 20 to 24, that you are not their controller, you're not their ruler. And I mean, I'm talking about common sense. That if Allah, God, wanted Muhammad to be a ruler, a king, then obviously he was handed down with some responsibilities. He must have had a organized administration. And I kept on digging and digging again. I couldn't find any sign of organized administration during Muhammad's time, and I kept on digging again. Medina Charter is so vastly applauded. Medina Charter, absolutely no basis of it, no basis whatsoever. Not in Quran, not in Tafsir, not in Nasira, not in Hadith. It's not even mentioned. So imagine that you are a king, or you are a ruler, or you have administration of Makkah and Medina. You know you're going to die. Surah 3 verse 144. You know, all the prophets died, so he's going to die. So here he has a growing political power, a state sort of. He's not going to let his followers know who will take over. So imagine there's no system of Khilafah, clear, not in the Quran, not even in the Hadith, although there are arguments between Shias and Sunnis. So you're going to die. So what's going to happen to the victory that you had? Who's going to run your show? Obviously, your followers will fight for power. So that's what happened. All the Sahabas were trying to kill one another. And we are all told to respect all of them because they're all heaven bound. I mean, come on. One of them has to go to hell. That's what I understand. Because one was a killer, other got killed. One probably might have justifiable reasons to kill the other. Then the killed probably went to hell. And after the killer or the one who killed went to heaven. I mean, these are all confusing again. So I'm lost. I kept on digging. Hadiths. I couldn't find any reason whatsoever to believe that this hadith collection is correct. Why? Because the claims are, for example, the most authentic of the 6 hadiths is the Bukhari. There's no copy of the Bukhari before the 12th century. There's one abridged copy in Austria, in Belgium, a few pages. That's not good enough for me. Then I found British Library had the oldest one. Surprisingly, not a Muslim country, the British Library had the oldest one, the 12th century. Okay, so we are down to 12th century. Let's go back. I found one single sentence of hadith in 300 years of first Islamic history, and that is in Austria. And can you tell me can you guess which is the earliest one of the earliest hadiths? You know what I mean, right? So that was before Bukhari. Muwatta Malik. Thank you. Muwatta Malik. So he has one sentence in Vienna library. No, museum. That's it. Adios, hadith. So Bukhari dictated hadiths to hundreds of his, audience. Not a single copy. And he spent 12 years, and some argue more, I would say less, in verifying hadiths. So the hadiths, if they're verified, and he verified 300,000 hadiths, so he performed ablution before every hadith. So he ended up doing ablution. I meditated that because I took 5 minutes in a fast mode, and you will end up doing ablution for 12 years. Come on, he was doing ablution for 12 years. And forget about doing salah before every assessment. So he probably would have needed 1,000 years to do all that. And then he dictated before, at the fag end of his life, to Farabri. We don't know much about Farabri. For example, Shafiq is a genius. He's genius. We are applauding him. But he, before his death, he dictated to Mufassil, who is probably, I don't know, an idiot maybe. I don't know. People don't know much about me. So that's me Farabri here, and that's Bukhari. And just before, 60 years before, after that, I heard twice from great Bukhari there. I told to Ridwan, who is 17 years old, and I said, Bukhari got Bukhari. Doesn't make sense to me. They were not free either, all these hadith collectors. For example, Nasai was beaten to death, if the Islamic history is right. He was beaten to death because he disagreed with others and didn't show respect to Muawiyah. So they were not free. So if they were not free, they were not persecuted. I mean, none of these hadith collectors were persecuted, as rightly my brother here, Mamun, said, that, they were all Iranian people, more or less, to make it, Persian people. So I'm lost there. All the hadith collections, I'm lost. There's no basis of saying that the view is authentic. As a man of the 21st century, sorry, I'm not ready. Then go for grammar. Somebody said, Mufassir, you don't know Arabic grammar. I said, I do very well. So I researched into Arabic grammar. My brother here, Amin Rashid Bhai, we spent quite a few times. And he always responds with a smile to me. Always with a smile. Always with a smile. I know silence is a killer. I didn't know a smile is a killer as well. But I found out a smile is a killer. So I asked him, Amin Rashid Bhai, the grammar of Arabic, who were behind them? And I found out Sibwe and others, they were all Persian again. So I couldn't make head and tail of it, of Quran, without due respect, without the Persian help. And the earliest of Quranic interpreters were Persian. And again, the hadith collectors, Abu Huraira. I mean, imagine this. We have a rebel poet in Bangladesh, right? Do you know who rebel poet is in Bangladesh? Who? Qazi Nazrul. Imagine that we know rebel poet, but we don't know his name. How would that sound? So we have Abu Huraira, and we have 27,000 hadiths of Sunni collections, but at least 7,000 are accepted. But anyway, imagine, we know Abu Huraira, father of kitten, without due respect, that's his kunya. But we don't know his actual name. Muslim scholars provide 15 different names of Abu Huraira. They could never agree about his name. And why is his name necessary? Because that every name bears a testimony to where he came from usually. So not like Azari, but anyway, but that's what it is. So we don't know. And again, the names of hadith collectors or the hadith narrators is a problem because there are gaps. There are gaps there. The hadith gone through the window. It's gone, totally gone. Yes. So let's go to Quran now. I'm a man again. I'm digging. Nothing beyond my question. I question everything. The first question I asked my mom, why 2 plus 2 is 4? I'm asking Mom, why 2 plus 2 has to be 4? Why can't it be 5? So my mom had to ask our house help to get some bananas from the shop and told me 2 is 4. I said, at last I know. So I started questioning the Quran itself. There's not a single copy of the entire Quran before the 10th century. Not a single copy of the entire Quran, carbon dated, complete from our source before the 10th century. Not a single one. You can go for 90%, not 100%. So what is happening to 10%? So now if you're, again, going to carbon dating, a few pages of the earliest recensions are available, Birmingham manuscript and others. A few pages, don't get me, it's not an entire copy, a few pages, which has almost matches it today. But again, I found out that if they are like the earliest, oh wow, everybody jumped. Oh, we have the earliest Quran copies, we have found the Birmingham manuscript. I took it, I started taking it, and all the Muslim ulama scholars, they shouted, it's fantastic. But I found out later on, they all said carbon dated can't be relied on. I said, carbon dated can't be relied on with 97% authenticity. They said, no, it can't be. So why not? Because it predates Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's time. What? So most of the scientific carbon dating today dates the earliest manuscript to be before the time of Prophet Muhammad. Revelation 6:10. And then this another something, like the surahs or the chapters were never named by prophet. You don't know where the names came from. Nobody knows who named them. One or two hadiths will tell you Baqarah, but you can't do that. If it is so, that's it. I mean, manuscript wise, it's gone. Now, grammar wise, some of the linguistics experts, I sat down with them, and the surahs which will have the same type of starting. For example, say the surahs which will start with swearing or with oaths. Wal asr innal insana lafi khusr and all that. You know, the surahs which start with qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas, qul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq, qul huwallahu ahad. They will have the same type of, narration, the same pattern, and I deciphered the etymology of those surahs, and I found out those surahs will have a certain regional influence. For example, Syriac, and the others will have Hebrew. And the Quran, and strangely enough, for example, Wattina was Zaitina, Watura Sinin. The Sinin word is Hebrew, it is not Arabic. But again, somewhere else, it is Arabic use. So that made me believe that it can't probably it never came to one prophet. It didn't come from to one prophet. Quran is never meant to be a book. It's read, yeah? It's read, it's a Musaf. So it's never meant to be a book, a single book. It was not meant. It was never meant. Yasin, we spoke about. Yasin, it's probably the prophet. One of the prophets' name was Yasin. So the main purpose was to free us from rules and laws. Being lawyers, we had to admit that. The main purpose of Quran was because the day and night, we are saying, Mamun and I especially, we are saying that every day that Mamun, why we are praying Ihdina Siratal Mustaqim? We are saying, come on, give us a simple way to Allah. Simple, make it simple, Allah. Don't make it tough. Make it simple. But we are handed with the most, complicated way of life, how to eat, how to sleep, how to have sex, how to brush teeth, how to do this, how to do that. Imagine that Quran is telling you, Allah is here to free you. And he's telling you that the people of the past, they made their lives complicated with all these man-made issues. But again, with hadith, you are piling them up. Because I have seen that hadith, they have heavily relied on non-Islamic sources. Sometimes even not from the people of the book. Allah said, "Laqad khalaqnal insana fi ahsani taqwim," but we keep on cutting our penis. Because the book of circumcision of the Bible, we are altering our body. Allah said, don't alter it. So if I made a tattoo when I was a kafir, I made a tattoo and said, everybody jumped. Why did you make tattoo? And I said, why you circumcised them? That's irreversible. So it is astonishing. So again, now when Fatwa al-Ngiri and all that, we see all these Islamic laws and rules, and saying it's probably luckily they don't have a rule to breathe. So these all rules and laws, we love them probably. We love to be bound. And this has given the so-called Islamic scholars an upper hand, because they don't do anything, they only memorize. Manoj Jaman, your tie is not Islamic, your haircut is not Islamic, your beard is not this much, and we have to keep on hammering them. They have nothing much better to do. So I believe this has given a tool which is against the Quran, which is given a tool of oppression. Because one of the greatest scholars, I must mention the name, was Ibn Tufayl, and he rather helped Europeans to free themselves from these rules and paved the way for European enlightenment. John Locke and others followed suit. So I believe that the roots of Islamic law doesn't exist. Absolutely, it doesn't exist. They don't exist. Islam is not here to give you laws. Allah doesn't give you laws if there is a creator. He doesn't want you to bind yourself with laws. He left it with us. If there is a God, He left it with us to use our common sense, to ask our moral heart, to take the help of the greatest people of our time, rely it on parliament or others, lawmakers, they're always in progression, and then make a decision. But we have been bogged down, and I don't believe that Islamic law really exists. It has no basis. And the people who are trying to establish Sharia, in fact, they will have no legs to stand on. Allah doesn't give you laws, rules at all. Zero. Not even how to pray. Because you cannot establish how many rakas in prayer. Can you? Can anyone? No. You can. How to pray? Can you establish? No. Imam said. Who the hell was the Imam? I'm not bound to obey him. I respect Abu Hanif, but Abu Hanifa, he was not respected by Ishaq ibn Ruay, Bukhari's teacher. He was respected. He didn't respect Abu Hanifa. But we say we are Hanafi Mazhab. You know, all these greatest jurists didn't agree with the Hadith collectors, and again, and Sirat al-Nabi, and then Sirat Rasulullah, Ibn Hisham. You cannot give me one single unquestionable source of Imam in any of the Sirahs. Lastly, for sure, Muwatta ibn Malik you mentioned. There are 30 different versions of Muwatta ibn Malik. 30. The most important was Yahya. Yeah, am I right? So if somebody pulls Muwatta Malik, I will say, which version? Which version? Right? So to conclude my speech, I will say that none of the Islamic law, none, absolutely none, including giving emphasis on the Prophet Muhammad solely. Because if you argue, well, I will say Prophet Ibrahim, Prophet Musa, Prophet Isa. So if they were all saying, fear God or love God and follow your heart, follow your common sense, I've given you reasonable mind, that's enough. How are they different? Why do I have to be Arabic to be a good Muslim? Why do you have to buy dates sitting in Bangladesh when I have a mango fruit? Because there was a prophet in my land who loved mango fruit. Was he looking for dates from Saudi Arabia? Doesn't make sense. You can't establish any of them. Let's free ourselves from all this, I'm sorry, use the term, nonsense. People ask me, Mamun, is it so easy? I said, yes. You asked for Siratul Mustaqim. It is easy, Mobin. You're making it complicated. Use your common sense, use your reason, use your logic. You're not going to kill someone, you're not going to rape someone because, Hadith says, because in our Bangladesh we say, At-tuhuru satrul iman. Oh, so you have to be so, no, you have to be very nice, neat and tidy. And look at here, how clean, and look at Gulistan in Bangladesh. You'll find out. You don't need At-tuhuru satrul iman to guide you. Look at, you say, Yarhamu man fil ardi, yarhamu man fil sama. You're saying that, you have to love animals. But at the end, here, they are the animal lovers. They're using common sense. They have freed themselves from all laws and rituals. Anyway, thank you all. Thank you very much for your time. We have a few questions. I think but before we open up our windows for questions, we have quite a few people who are asking the questions. We should have a discussion amongst us. And this is being live broadcast as well, simultaneously on Facebook and YouTube. And we will continue this. And today it was a preparatory or test run. Next time we are going to hold a seminar on abuse and harassments on Facebook and other social media. And I think I can say that I'm an authority on that.
Yeah,
because I have successfully curbed Facebook on this. And we'll talk about that on our next seminar. You are all invited again. And we'll have a larger panel about this because we'll publicize that. Let's open up our discussion table. If anybody wants to, anyone have any question or anything to ask, please do so now.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Why not going Quran? He's talking about this hadith, you are talking about this hadith. He's talking about this hadith. Why not going to the Quran for this finding this law? Finding the source of law.
I mean, the Quran doesn't give any law. It has, some say it has 50 different laws, 500 verses giving laws. My question is, okay, let's put it this way. Okay, for example, zakat or say salat. Mamun will give you etymology, different interpretation. My question is, I will not even go there. I will say, okay, I agree. 5 times salat I will pray. Tell me how.
This is not like.
No, I'm just saying.
This is the
Tell me how.
customs. This is not like law.
As again, personal law, public law,
Yes.
private law, everything is law in Islam. So if everything is law, then I have to pray in a certain way 5 times or 3 times. It's arguable.
No, what is this like a criminal law? Criminology.
Yes, criminal.
Criminology.
But again, you know, you studied theft law. Yeah, Theft Act. Yeah, Theft Act. So we studied Theft Act, Mamun.
Yeah.
Theft Act in Britain, England. So Theft Act is, you know, quite thick. So you have to go through everything. But if you want to make a long story short, you want to cut the hand, for example. My question would be, even that is debatable, but you have to understand circumstances. How can you base it on Quran? You cannot. I can't do that. But Mama, go ahead. Take it.
The one thing is, when you say it's theft for cutting hand, how much to cut? What to cut? When to cut?
Absolutely.
How many hands to cut? There's so many problems, so many uncertainty. We know that to be law, it has to be certain. There must not be any single ambiguity. That's the first one. Second one is, in the Quran, God said, eye for eyes, life for life. When he cut his hand, has he stole your hand? Why do you cut his hand? What are you going to do with that? Are you going to bury it or are you going to preserve it? So that's totally absurd. To steal a property, you have to give sanction equivalent of that according to Allah's words. Allah says eyes to eyes, life to life. We all agree with that. So if he did not, if I haven't stolen his hands, why he needs my hand? Ask yourself the rational question, being a lawyer. What they have done in Abbasid period, they have interpreted that way. We already know that the translation has come from the Persian people.
That's right.
Firstly, the Al-Tabari is a linguist. He translated the whole Quran from Arabic to Persian. And from where we get everything, and all its scholarship. And the grammar, he always said that. Everything has come from Persian. The question is, when the Rasul, on the messenger was there, did he know the grammar?
Mamun, I will add that, you know, the theocracy.
Yeah.
It was turned into a theocracy by the Abbasids
Yeah, that's true.
to unite the tribes, different tribes, under one rule, and so that they could engage their times in rituals, variant rituals.
Now, what I point out is irrationality. You see that God's law, if it is to be law, there must not be any irrationality. But it's full of irrationality. For theft, you cannot cut someone's hand. Even if you rely on the Quran, you don't know how much to cut, why to cut, how many hands to cut, finger to cut, don't know. The word is to cut off their resources. It was mistranslated to cut off their hand. If you go, because if somebody stole that, you recover the stealing item. First one. If you can't, then make him suffer. Similarly, as he deprived the person he stole from. So that is from that rationality we now have imprisonment, to deprive his, at least his freedom of movement. We deprive him. That is the cut of his resources.
That's right. We move on, Mamun, because we have time limitations here. Anyone else? Yes, please.
I have one question. What is the main cause so many names in our Quran? What do you think?
Because it never existed. It never existed.
How can I do?
I mean, you have to be, all you need to do is burden of proof lies on you.
Yeah.
If you say he existed, prove it to me.
For example, I am telling family, there are many researchers all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some are debates. You know what you think?
Yes.
Many researchers
Yes.
all over the world in now. Yeah.
Yes.
I am thinking individual, but everybody is different.
Yes.
You tell it's okay. You tell okay. Nobody agrees about Islam.
Right.
What is the this is the main cause for
because anything.
This is the main problem.
The
Because
main
researcher, I am thinking researcher is the main problem at this moment.
No, researchers can honestly.
Main problem in the world at this moment. I am
Shanghai,
thinking-
researchers can never be a problem.
Yeah.
True researchers, honest researchers are always blessings.
I am thinking this is the main cause.
No, the
because
main question
all are
is.
researchers, there are.
No, I understand the problem, but I'm just saying, when you are following a preconceived, baseless idea which cannot be verified, then you will have variant understanding. For example, Eid Miladun Nabi, Eid Siratul Nabi, because because for example, if you go to Eid Miladun Nabi, you will have to rely on Ibn Ishaq. He's the earliest one. Ibn Ishaq, you cannot establish Ibn Ishaq. You cannot even establish Ibn Hisham. Eid Miladun Nabi gone. Now the question is that if you say scholars are problem, then there's a big issue, because it's honest research, reasonable research, evidence-based research, always these are helpful.
How can I get?
I'll give you an example.
How can I believe anyone?
Yeah,
How can, what is the?
you don't have to believe.
What is the measurement?
No.
How can I believe?
I'm giving you the measure.
Yes,
I'm giving you the measure.
Yeah.
Evidence, reason, logic. That's it. So if somebody you want to, it's not a belief. It's a question of believing. I see it's a common pattern. I don't believe. Why should I believe? You are a kafir, or you are a murtad, you are a munafiq, you are this, you are that. Everybody calls everybody this nowadays. But my question is, every one Islamic scholar will call another Muslim scholar a munafiq. What I'm just saying is very simple, that if you are seeing a blurry picture, you will say that 5 fingers, someone will say 3 fingers, someone will say 2 fingers. I will say, show the evidence. Hatu burhanukum in kuntum sadiqin. If you cannot give evidence, and now very simple question to you. You can ask any Islamic scholar because he's live. It's a simple question. Simple question. Prove the existence of Abu Huraira. Period. He ever existed. Give me a proof. That's all I want. Finished. Give me manuscript evidence. Give me logical evidence. If you say manuscript, there's no evidence. Logical, simple question. What was his name? At least give me that, unquestionably. If somebody says the moon has red light, it reflects red light. Some will say it reflects white light. Some will say it reflects yellow light. I will say yes, all true, because it depends on weather, atmosphere. So give me a reason why he has 15 different names. Why? Ask audience. Ask any scholar why Abu Huraira has 15 different names, and we don't even know about him much, and we are relying on his thousands of hadiths.
I just add one thing. You said which scholar to believe, or take Quran from the Quran. Once ittabaru man la yas'alukum ajran wa hum muttaqun. I think correctly if I'm wrong, I'll clarify. Ittabaru man la yas'alukum ajran wa hum. Do not follow those who ask remuneration. Does he ask any money? Yeah. Do we ask any money? Anything else? Well, he's a lawyer. He remembered his own why he's a lawyer. We all left our office. We don't need any money. Look at the scholars, those who say what they do. What's their profession? How they get the bread and butter.
That's right.
That is what the core principle
They
is.
sell their Islamic knowledge to make money.
Because of I am thinking about this topic. Everybody is busy,
Yes.
Everybody in this country, Bangladesh, any country, everybody is busy. Busy is equal to money.
Yes.
Busy is equal to money is equal to income.
That's right.
Busy is equal to everybody.
That's right.
Alan, they are busy with masjid or something like that. They are making money. Everybody wants more money. Yeah?
Right.
This is the main thing in the world at this moment. Do you know Surah Takasur? Surah
Yes.
Takasur, meaning everybody. This is the, I think, this is the main problem at this moment.
Absolutely.
Everybody wants money. Everybody wants money.
It's motivated by money. Yes.
Alan, lawyer, everybody wants money. This is the main factor.
There is no problem. You follow both.
This is the main. Everybody wants money.
Yes.
Money.
Money and politics. If somebody is involved in politics based on religion, can never tell the whole truth. Impossible.
Yeah. I agree with you.
Impossible. Now let's move on. Anybody else? Moby, do you have any question?
Actually, I really apologize for if I ask you anything since you're obviously. But actually, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask you something
Yeah.
because you mentioned something like a very questionable.
Yeah.
And sometimes just you mentioned about the alim ulama, where they're coming from.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Because how the alim ulama, being a alim ulama,
Yeah.
obviously they have spent a certain period of
Yeah.
time after like exam and everything.
Yeah.
They become just like an alim ulama. After that, they have been certified just
Yeah.
like easy and preach about the religion. The same way as you, I think you are a very strong.
Yeah,
Obviously, so that means a certain period of time you have spent for like a law side, then you become very strong. The same way actually nowadays, just like everyone spend a certain time to just like arrange their bread and butter. So maybe you spend time for the law, the other two also you spend for the like Islamic rules and regulations or like their knowledge. So obviously, even the people who are alim ulama, they have to survive. They have to survive. They have got kids and bread. They need bread and butter for their family. So how are they going to survive? Even suppose.
Why do they have to become full-time alim?
No, obviously. So suppose just like suppose as an example, like if you become an imam or muezzin or like Islamic teacher in an Islamic school or madrasa or university.
Yeah.
So even if you just like suppose even if I come to you, give me like.
We are. Mahmoud, can I take this question?
Yeah, of course.
We are here full-time professionals,
Yes.
but at the same time, we are giving my full-time. I gave up my profession almost, and I'm giving my full-time, my money and everything to arrange this program. Right? I'm self-financing it. Nobody gave me a penny. Right? And also, Mamoon is spending his time, giving up his office time to come here. Right? But he is not relying on selling these words to make money. But if you see the earliest history of jurists, for example, Imam Abu Hanifa, he was a tradesman. So he didn't ask for money for Islamic knowledge. When you are asking money, then you are in a contract. No, you are a contract. You must always have primary source of earning from some other source, not to sell your religion. Because I'll give an example. When Bangladeshis, they are doing wazes, these wazins, they go to do the waz, and the political leaders sitting next to them will say, don't see this. The other will say, don't. So if you are not 100% dedicated, honest in your understanding, research, you cannot be a scholar. You say how they're going to survive. Why do they have to spend 22 years academically to understand Islamic law? Because that's not the way other Islamic greatest scholars learned Islam. Because Abu Hanifa, he was sitting at various Islamic scholars to learn Islam. At the same time, he was learning tradesmanship.
Okay, so actually, obviously, we cannot treat everyone in the same.
That's what we have to do. Example.
The first of all, actually, when you start your speech, you just say, actually, we'd like to respect everyone's faith. Obviously, the religion is totally belief and faith.
Yes.
Even if you ask me where is God, I cannot show you. I cannot
Right.
prove.
It's based.
But the thing is, actually, when you're asking Imam Abu Hanifa or the other three imam, so obviously they were more dedicated about the religion. But nowadays, actually, lots of people.
So you said religion is a profession now.
I'm just coming to that. So actually, that time they are more dedicated about the religion, just like they did the business for their survival, bread and butter, and the other hand, just like for the
I don't agree with
extra
that.
time.
I don't agree with that.
Okay,
Because when you say dedicated, it's not. I won't say that today there are no such dedicated. I'm not dedicated. There are dedicated people who are 24/7 dedicated in knowledge. But one thing I must say: the greatest of philosophers in the world all came from affluent families, almost all of them. And also, imagine if you have someone who you want to take as your religious mentor, a teacher. You have to look for a teacher who does not rely on making money from teaching Islam. Even a word.
So nowadays, actually, because of just like a few,
Where did it come from?
Few number of like.
Where did it come from?
Some,
Where did it come from? It came from the British. If you know the Islamic history, the Maktub was not the way only to teach Hadith and Quran. Because they were polymaths. They were learning science, they were learning physics, they were learning chemistry, they were learning Islamic jurisprudence. They were having a livelihood. But when the British went to South Asia, they started creating Aliyah Madrasa full time because the British knew that Europe suffered from this clergy system. Mufti, Shaykh, they are Christian leaders, and they ended up fighting them, right? The popes.
Actually, I would like to ask another thing.
Yeah, go on. Now take it.
Question about
Can I ask you, refer to the previous question?
Sure.
You said the word ulama. My concern is there.
Yeah.
Where did they get the word?
So actually, now
What does it mean? Do we know the meaning of the ulama?
no, obviously I'm not that much like
No,
it.
I just show you from the Quran.
Yes.
So let's see what God said about the Quran. And you judge whether these are ulama or not.
No, actually, nowadays, actually, alim ulama we're using as just like a designation.
Because somebody hijacked something from some other way. Somebody said, I am this, I am this.
Marun, we have time frame. We
Yeah.
have only 5 minutes
Oh,
left.
I
think
want
we
to
have-
say,
we
I
have
just want
quite a few
to,
waiting.
I just want 1 minute. Yeah, can I please speak
Okay.
to respond
He was
to this
there
brother?
by
Okay.
camera, he has a
All right,
question.
okay. To respond to this brother, he says researchers nowadays a problem. I'm strongly disagree with that because
You can
as
go in
much
front of the
as-
camera. I will hold the
as-
camera.
no. As much as you do research, you like sharpen yourself like a knife. Okay? No, it doesn't.
It's the big problem.
No. No, I'm not arguing. I'm just commenting. No, I'm just commenting. I am commenting. I'm not arguing. Let me tell you. When the British go to India, yeah, our Islamic story was great. Okay, there was a lot of researcher. The British forced us to stop research and memorize. Okay, stop research and memorize.
That's right.
Okay, that's nobody disagree with that. So how could you say that the researching is a problem?
But they are agreed, but we are not agreed. This is the main problem. Because they are the British, they are the Americans.
Okay, go ahead.
This is they are agreed, but we are not agreed. We are the normal people in Quran.
Okay, let him
In
respond.
Quran, Allah says, فَلَوْلَا نَفَرَ مِنْ كُلِّ فِرْقَةٍ لِيَتَفَقَّهُوا فِي الدِّينِ. Why not say group of people coming from every contingent and dedicate themselves for study and learning for deeper knowledge? Quran encourages the researchers. There's no problem with that. Even though if we disagree with each other, there's no problem.
Yeah, absolutely. We are so much behind than Western countries is because of they stopped us to doing research. You know? Okay, go on.
We have 3
It
minutes
is
left.
allowed, and this is the beauty of Islam, that Islam allows disagreement.
Oh,
We should be
No other
agreed.
faith
We should be
system,
agreed.
yeah.
no other faith system allows. Islam clearly provides, even if I don't take the hadith as an authentic evidence of Islam.
Amir Rashid Bhai, we have 3 minutes left. We have to take a few questions from the audience.
Then
Okay.
ikhtilaful ulama
Okay, who wants to ask a question?
That's for
Huh?
Faisal, you have a question? You have a question? You have to quick. Irfan Majumdar, you have a question? You have a question? You have 3 minutes to ask any question.
Just between
Irfan Majumdar or Faisal, you have any question? You have 3 minutes to ask. Go ahead, Irfan Majumdar. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir.
Go ahead.
First thing is we discover we enlightened with the discussion. First thing is what about the jurisprudence understanding and how it can be shaped? There are certain argument. Let's say there are thinking of how actually religion, like let's say Islam. In case of Islam, whether the Quran actually satisfies every aspect of laws or not. These are some argument whether the Quran actually discovers or satisfies every aspect on every sense, the phenomena or the certain cases. There are a few arguments like in case of jurisprudence, there was requirement of jurisprudence due to that argument or due to the lack of clarity in the Quran.
Question, Irfan, we want question, no comments. Questions.
If I make the question short, then what would be the thinking of whether the jurisprudence actually satisfies, or does the Quran fail on clarifying on every cases or provide detail that surpasses the need of jurisprudence?
Well, understand. I think you got the question, yeah?
I get the question.
I got the question. Okay, go ahead.
Firstly,
Yes,
so,
thank
we don't know whether Quran requires any jurisprudence. Quran doesn't need
That's
any.
right. Yes.
Quran doesn't give any jurisprudence. Quran gives simple human rational.
That's right.
Use your reason.
That's right.
Afala ta'qilu,
That's
72 times. I think I don't need anything from the Quran more than that. Because if had we need anything, God would have given it.
That's right.
Why did God give it? We haven't given it because it's a sirat al-mustaqim in the Quran. It's easy. Just follow simple life. Use your aql. That is it. All about it.
Thank you. Faisal, your question. Go ahead. Faisal.
My observation is different here.
Okay. Faisal, go ahead. You have 1 minute to ask. Go ahead. The question, unmute yourself. Unmute your microphone, please.
Hello, sir.
Yeah,
Can
go
you
ahead.
hear me?
Go ahead. Yes, I can. Go ahead. Be snappy. Go ahead.
Okay. My question is to who is sitting next to Barrister Al Mamun.
Amin Rashid. Amin Rashid. Mr. Amin Rashid.
Yes. Yes. So the question is, if the Islamic law was given by God, I mean by Allah.
Yes.
So then the question comes that what's the source of Islamic law? The majority of the Muslim scholars say Quran and Hadith are the source of Islamic law. Well, if so, now the question is, are the rules and laws that have been mentioned in the Quran and Hadith enough in this modern and civilized world?
Right. I got it. You understand the question, right? I think if Quran and Sunnah are enough, then are they?
Okay, sorry, we have very
yes.
little time, so please finish it in 1 minute.
Then
One
we
minute,
compare
close the
with
door.
Our citation about the rules of Islamic law. I don't mix up Quran and Hadith together. I think two different things. Quran is.
But the question was, are
Quran
they
is-
enough?
Yeah.
Even if together, Quran and Hadith, are they enough?
We need to understand how the legal process works. Is law provides a principle, and when we adjudicate any case, then the judge applies his own discretion as well, following the principle laid out in the legislation.
Right. So should we take them as equitable
Sometimes-
principles? Should we?
General rule
Right.
provided through the legislation, and the judges adjudicate
Right.
the cases.
I think we got. We had enough time.
according to their discretion.
To conclude, Islamic law was greatly influenced by Roman laws as well, jurisprudence especially, and we have. I have done intensive research on that. In future, we will discuss. And also during the time of Baitul Hikmah, it gone through tremendous reformations as well. But nevertheless, thank you very much for all of you who have joined us today. And we have some food arrangements. We'll have some snacks after this. And thank you for all coming. And those of you, sorry. Yes, we have got some food arrangements. All right. So anyway, thank you very much. The food might not be halal, but still. Thank you.
100% halal.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you guys. Thanks for watching us. We will come back again to this kind of conversation.